My sister said, "Either pay for my wedding or don't come." I said, "I won't." So I took my name off the vendor card before the final balance hit. By Sunday, my phone was exploding because her perfect wedding plan only worked if I stayed guilty and quiet. Original post, my sister told me I could either help pay for her wedding or stay home. So I told her I would stay home. That was apparently not the answer anyone expected from me. For context, I'm Miles, 31, and I live in Columbus, Ohio. I'm an electrician, which sounds better than it feels some weeks, because my schedule is basically early mornings, sore shoulders, and checking my bank app before I buy groceries. I'm not broke, but I'm not rich either. My rent is $1,475 for a one-bedroom, my truck payment is $389, and I still send my mom money when her insurance copay gets stupid. My younger sister Jenna is 27. She's always been the charming one in the family, not fake charming, actually charming. The kind of person who can walk into a room, forget your birthday, and still somehow leave with you apologizing to her. She got engaged to Daniel last year. He's not a bad guy. Quiet, works in sales, tries to keep peace. When they started planning the wedding, Jenna kept saying they wanted something simple but elegant. Simple meant a lakeside venue, custom flowers, a live string trio for the ceremony, and bridesmaid robes that cost more than my work boots. At first, I wanted to help. I really did. Jenna and I used to be close before adulthood turned every family gathering into a group project nobody asked for. So when she said deposits were stacking up, I offered $2,500 as a wedding gift. I said it clearly over text. "Jen, I can help with $2,500 total. I wish I could do more, but that's my limit." She replied with a heart emoji and "You're the best brother ever." That was in March. By May, she asked if I could also cover the DJ deposit because Daniel's bonus had been delayed. That was $600. I was annoyed, but I paid it because she cried on the phone and said she was embarrassed. Then in June, my mom called me and said Jenna was stressed about catering. I asked, "Why is mom calling me about Jenna's catering?" My mom went quiet, then said, "She just feels like you understand money better." That was family code for "you are expected to fix this." I told mom I had already helped. She said, "I know, honey, but weddings are once in a lifetime." I said, "So is rent, apparently, because mine keeps coming every month." That joke did not land. The real fight happened on a Thursday night after work. I had just gotten home, still in my work pants, eating leftover rotisserie chicken over the sink because I was too tired to use a plate. Jenna called and asked if I could come over to our parents' house. I said I was exhausted. She said, "It's important." So I went. When I walked in, my mom, my dad, Jenna, and Daniel were sitting around the dining table like I had been called to a board meeting. There was a folder on the table. I knew right then it was about money. Jenna slid a printed invoice toward me. Final catering balance, $48.60. I looked at it, then looked at her. She said, "We need help with this." I laughed once because I thought she meant everyone. Then nobody laughed with me. I said, "Jenna, I already gave you more than I said I could." She crossed her arms and said, "You gave your limit before you understood what weddings cost." That line made something in my chest go cold. I said, "No, I gave my limit because I understood what my life costs." My dad rubbed his forehead. Daniel stared at the table. My mom said, "Nobody is trying to use you." I said, "Then why does this feel like a bill?" Jenna's face turned red. She said I was making her wedding about me. I said I was making my bank account about me. That's when she snapped. She said, "Either pay for my wedding or don't come." The whole room went silent. Usually I would have explained. I would have softened my voice. I would have tried to make everyone comfortable while I was being cornered, but I was tired, so I said, "Okay." "I won't." Jenna blinked like I had slapped the folder off the table. My mom said, "Miles, don't be dramatic." I pushed the invoice back toward Jenna and said, "I'm not being dramatic, I'm accepting her terms." Then I stood up and left. I didn't yell. I didn't slam the door. I just walked to my truck, sat there for a minute, and realized I was shaking. Not because I regretted it, because for the first time in years I didn't chase them back into the room. Update 1: the calls started before I got to the freeway. Mom called twice. Dad called once. Jenna texted me 8 times. Her first text said, "Wow, so you're really going to abandon your own sister over money?" Then, "You know I didn't mean it like that." Then, "Daniel is so upset." Then, "Mom is crying." I didn't answer because I knew the pattern. First guilt, then panic, then a fake apology that somehow required me to apologize too. By the time I got home, my cousin Ashley had texted me. "Hey, I don't want to get involved, but Jenna said you promised to pay catering and backed out." Is that true? That was the first twist. I hadn't promised that, not even close. So I sent Ashley the screenshot from March where I clearly said $2,500 total. I also sent her the Venmo receipt for the DJ deposit and the bank screenshot showing the venue decor deposit I had covered earlier. Ashley replied, "Oh, that is not what she told us." I didn't post anything publicly. I didn't blast Jenna in the family chat. I just sent proof to the person who asked. 10 minutes later, my Aunt Linda texted me, then my Uncle Rob, then my dad again. Apparently, Ashley had started asking questions in the cousin group chat. I still wasn't trying to embarrass Jenna. I just wasn't going to let her turn me into the cheap older brother who ruined her big day. The next morning, I called the DJ company and the rental place to make sure my card was not saved for future charges. The DJ said I was fine. Paid deposit only. The rental company paused. The woman on the phone said, "We actually have your card listed as backup payment for the final floral arch and chair package." I sat up at my kitchen counter. I said, "I never approved that." She said Jenna had provided it from a prior deposit receipt and said I was family finance help. Family finance help. That phrase almost made me laugh. I told the woman politely that I did not authorize any future charges. She removed my card and emailed confirmation. That email saved me later. Because by Saturday afternoon, Jenna texted me, "You called the vendors. Are you trying to sabotage me?" I replied, "I removed my payment information from charges I didn't approve." She sent back, "You're being cruel." I typed 3 different replies and deleted all of them. Finally, I wrote, "No. I'm being clear." That made her even angrier. She posted on Instagram that night. Nothing direct, just one of those soft, dramatic posts. "Weddings show you who truly supports you. Some people only love you when it's convenient." My girlfriend Rachel saw it before I did. She showed me while we were folding laundry at my apartment. She said, "Please tell me you're not responding." I said, "I'm not." Then my mom called. I answered because I knew she would keep calling. She said, "Your sister is humiliated." I said, "By what?" "Me not letting her charge my card." Mom got quiet. Then she said, "She's under a lot of pressure." I said, "So am I just don't turn mine into invoices for other people." That was probably sharper than it needed to be. I'm not proud of every sentence I said during this. I was angry. I felt used, and when I feel cornered, I get cold instead of emotional. Mom said, "You could have handled this privately." I said, "She told people I promised money. That stopped being private." Then Mom said the sentence that explained everything. "She just assumed you would come through because you always do." And there it was. Not because I offered, not because I agreed, because I always did. Update 2: the strongest twist came from Daniel. He called me Sunday morning. I almost didn't answer because I expected another lecture, but Daniel was never dramatic, so I picked up. He sounded exhausted. He said, "Miles, can I ask you something without you getting mad?" I said, "Depends on the something." He asked, "How much have you actually paid toward the wedding?" I told him about the original $2,500, the DJ deposit, and the decor deposit. Altogether, it was $3,720. Daniel was silent. Then he said, "She told me you offered 10. I thought I misheard him. I said, "10 what?" He said, 10,000. I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, but because my brain refused to accept it any other way. Daniel said Jenna had built part of their wedding budget around money I never promised. He thought I was covering catering and part of photography. His parents had already paid for the rehearsal dinner. My parents paid for the dress alterations and cake. Jenna had apparently been moving numbers around for months, telling everyone. Miles said he would handle it. That explained why everyone looked at me like I had burned down the venue when I said no. Daniel said he wasn't calling to attack me. He just wanted the truth because the vendor balances were due and Jenna was crying, saying I had destroyed everything. I sent him the same screenshots. He said very quietly, "I'm sorry, man." That apology hit harder than all the yelling, because Daniel didn't owe me one. Jenna did. That afternoon, Jenna showed up at my apartment with Mom. Rachel was there, and I could tell she wanted to disappear into the wall. Jenna had sunglasses on even though it was cloudy. She looked genuinely stressed, not evil, not heartless, just desperate and embarrassed and furious that her plan had stopped working. She said, "Can we talk?" I said, "You can talk. You can't yell." She rolled her eyes but came in. For 10 minutes she explained how wedding planning had gotten out of control, how every small thing became more expensive, how she felt judged by Daniel's family, how she didn't want people thinking she had a cheap wedding. I listened. Then I asked, "Why did you tell people I promised $10,000? She looked at Mom, then at the floor. She said, "I didn't say it like that." I pulled out my phone and showed her Daniel's text. Her face changed. Mom read it over my shoulder and whispered, "Jenna." That was the first time Mom sounded disappointed in her instead of worried for her. Jenna started crying. She said she felt like I didn't understand how much pressure she was under. I said I did understand pressure. I had just spent years being the pressure valve for everyone else. Then she said, "So what, you're really not coming?" I said, "You uninvited me." She said, "I was mad." I said, and I accepted it calmly. She said, "You're punishing me." I went to my desk drawer and pulled out a plain envelope. Inside were printed receipts for every payment I had made, plus the email from the rental company confirming my card had been removed. I handed it to her. I said, "This is not punishment. This is the end of confusion." She stared at the envelope like it was a breakup letter. I told her I loved her, but I was done being treated like emergency funding with a pulse. I said if she wanted me at the wedding as her brother, with no money attached and no family guilt campaign, I would consider it. But if my invitation depended on paying another invoice, then my answer was still no. Jenna wiped her face and said, "I don't know how to fix this." I said, "Start by telling the truth." She didn't like that answer. She left without apologizing, but Mom stayed behind for a minute. She looked around my apartment at the laundry basket on the couch, the grocery receipt on the counter, my work boots by the door, and I think for once she saw my life as something real. Not just the place money came from. She said, "I'm sorry we put this on you." I said, "I know you didn't mean to." She said, "That doesn't make it okay." And honestly, that was the closest thing to peace I had gotten all week. Final update: I didn't go to the wedding. Not because I wanted to hurt Jenna. Not because I wanted everyone whispering. I didn't go because 2 days before the ceremony, she sent me one last text. "If you really loved me, you'd show up and help fix what you caused." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied, "I didn't cause this, and I do love you. That's why I'm not rewarding this." After that, I put my phone on silent and picked up a Saturday emergency job at an apartment building with bad wiring and no air conditioning in the hallways. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. I spent the morning sweating through my shirt, came home, showered, ordered Thai food with Rachel, and watched a baseball game with my phone face down. I won't pretend I felt nothing. Around 7, I wondered if Jenna had walked down the aisle yet. Around 8, I wondered if Dad noticed my empty chair. Around 9, I almost checked Instagram. Rachel put her hand over mine and said, "Don't." So I didn't. The wedding still happened. Smaller than planned, but it happened. Daniel's uncle helped with catering. The flower package got reduced. The string trio became a playlist. From what Ashley told me later, it was still pretty. That part mattered to me. I never wanted her wedding ruined. I wanted my name removed from the bill. A week later, Daniel came by my apartment. He brought a 6-pack and an envelope with $600 cash. He said it wasn't everything, but he wanted to start paying back what Jenna had added beyond my original offer. I told him he didn't have to do that. He said, "I know, that's why I am." Jenna didn't come with him. But about a month later, she texted me. Not a perfect apology, not some movie speech, just, "I'm sorry I lied about what you offered. I was embarrassed and I made it your problem." I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back, "Thank you for saying that. I hope you and Daniel are doing okay." She replied, "We're trying." That was it. We're not suddenly best friends again. Family doesn't heal like a light switch. Sometimes it heals like a bruise. Slowly, ugly at first, and only if people stop pressing on it. I still love my sister. I also learned love is not the same thing as unlimited access. Being dependable does not mean being available for every crisis someone creates. And sometimes the strongest boundary is not yelling, exposing, or getting revenge. Sometimes it is just accepting the exact words someone used on you. She said pay or don't come. So I didn't. And somehow, the world kept spinning. If this hit close to home, subscribe for more stories like this. Like and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And comment whether you've ever had family turn your kindness into an obligation or what you think I should have done differently.